but last couple of years they've finally rallied and stuck with the 31st. Are we officially
Okay.
up and running, TJ? We'll stop talking about Halloween in my neighborhood. My street is very popular.
Well, it only took 5 attempts to get us rolling live, and here we are for Triple T Talk Time with TJ number 200. 200! 200! Holy banana peel set, man.
Woo!
Never even dreamed of that. So awesome. Thanks to all of you guys. Um, and for those of you out on yeah, it's going to be one of those nights. For those of you on YouTube, hi, Mom. Love you. And for the rest of you, love you too, because 200 of these in a row. Wow. For those of you just tuning in
Big
or
deal.
for the first time, my name is TJ Zebel. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with, no, I don't know everything. I just have a unique way of asking questions, helping people to get to the solutions that they're looking for. And wow, I'm gonna probably bumble through this. It's good to see some familiar faces popping in. This is gonna be fun. Um, yeah, for those of you that are on YouTube, please do all the YouTube stuff that doesn't cost you anything more than a couple clicks, but it sure helps out the channel. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell so that you know when we're back on live. If you like what we're doing, please click the like, leave some comments. I like the comments. And share this. If you know somebody that could get a benefit out of this, that's why I've been doing this, why I put it together, and why we've done this 200 weeks in a row. Still blows my mind. Okay, what else? I do have a website. I'd love to have you guys check out, give me some feedback, tell me what you think. And you're going to find it at www.thetSWB.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. That's what it's always stood for since way before the internet. So if you find something different on the internet, that's not me. I'm the tall, skinny white boy, and that is he, and he is I, and I am him, and all the above. On there, you're going to find some of the stuff that I do, and a little background stuff on me. If you go to the About page, there's a little document there with a little history of some of the stuff that I've done, lived through, all 5 of my lives in the last so many years. And I also offer a free, that's right, no charge to you, 30-minute consultation. That's your opportunity to talk to me for 30 minutes. We can go over some of the challenges, some of the goals, some of the things you're looking to accomplish, and see if there's any way that I can help you. If I feel that we are a fit, I'll let you know. If I feel that we are not a fit, I promise you I will also let you know that, because I don't want to waste your time or your money, but I will do the best to find a good fit for you. That brings us to another tradition I started on the first Triple T of 2024, the tie of the week. And this week I wore this one for you guys to tell you how much I love all your support and everything.
That's
And,
adorable.
and getting us all the way up to 200. So a little poo on my tie with love it and all the above. Who doesn't love poo? Probably parents at 3 in the morning in a different delivery, but that could be love too. Enough of that. Who's got something cool and awesome that they want to share from the last 7 days since we've been together? Anybody got anything? Anybody? 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 Lenora.
I believe it was our lovely Renee's birthday recently last week and our lovely Holly's birthday.
Yes. Birthdays all over the place, and I got to tell you, one of the things, for those of you that don't know, I got kicked off Facebook about 8 months ago. Somebody hacked my profile from the other side of the planet and messed things up so bad that they not only put me into timeout, they deleted my profile, totally obliterated it, gone. One of the biggest things I missed was birthdays. One of the things that I'd love to do every morning, having my coffee, was going through and wishing everybody a happy birthday. And I've missed so many of them now since that got taken away from me. So happy birthday to both Renee and Holly. And thanks for being a part of our tribe. Anybody else got anything they want to share from the last 7 days or so since we've seen each other?
All good things. Kind of going to sum that up. All good things.
Yeah, I was going to say, hopefully no news is good news, and hopefully you guys have been cruising on the good side of the road. Real quick, for those that are joining us for the very first time or watching this program for the very first time on the recording, the way it works, it's a 2-hour show. First hour, I do my best to get through 3 topics that I picked for the week. And then the second hour, I see somebody's like, oh yeah, I remember now. The second hour is when we shift gears and it turns into open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a question or a topic, and I let everybody else on the call answer first, because I like to learn as well. And after everybody's answered, if I feel like there's something I can still add, that's when I add my 2 centavos. So without any further ado, let's get into the topics of the week. And this week's topics: celebrate, forgiveness and love, and molehills. Celebrate. Well, obviously I have plenty to celebrate here, and I'm not going to hide that, and I'm not going to diminish it. You guys are the reason that we're here for number 200. So that's a huge celebration. Thank you all from all of me. And you guys also know, if you've been around for the 200, you know that I didn't do this alone. There were times when I had to be on the road and was broadcasting the best I could with the reception I had on my phone while cruising down an interstate. So thank you to Lenora and Holly for making sure that the engine was still running while I was unable to be the full pilot. And that means a lot to me, because there's going to be some more of these coming up, as I've got some opportunities to travel out of the country, which is going to make it even trickier to try and make sure that I'm on there. But we're going to make sure that the show keeps going. Lenora, you got your hand up?
I was definitely going to suggest that people have, hi Jade, it's so good to see you.
Yes.
Like a favorite moment, kind of like, you know, how they do like a recap after they hit like 100 episodes or like 200 episodes. I was thinking back, I'm like, I wonder if there was a favorite topic or a favorite recap, a favorite episode that we could all bring up. But by the time that I thought of it, it was a little too late, unless everybody can do it on the spot.
Well, second hour would be a perfect one if we get a chance. If you guys take some time, think about, even those of you that have only joined recently, if there's something that stood out from there's Mike, and it gets better and better. I am a happy man. Part of why I picked celebrate is I want to remind everybody that remember to celebrate as many things as you possibly can come up with. To the point of where some people just may think that you're just being crazy, because it trains that muscle in your head, in your mind, and this gray matter between our ears, that there is so much stuff to celebrate. Waking up in the morning is worth a celebration. And I know there were plenty times in my life, and those of you that know me know that I've gone through some challenges, we'll call them life learning opportunities. And I had plenty to be torqued off at the universe, God, life, all the above. And I think it was Wayne Dyer that actually finally got through to me that, dude, breathing, being able to see, good food, waking up in the morning, having somebody to converse with, it's all worth celebrating. Back in the day, I remember specifically somebody laughed at me for picking up pennies off the ground when I saw them. I was like, I had the time, I had the opportunity. It was right there. I thank God because it says right on there, in God we trust. And if I do that 100 times, I'm blessed with $1. And sometimes you hear the the old expression, penny for your thoughts. Some people's thoughts are worth a lot more than a penny, but if you can get it for a penny, that's a bargain. Just saying. Another item that we've covered quite often is doing things for your future self and then remembering to celebrate when you get to take advantage of the things that you did for your future self. Simple stuff. Prepping the coffee. Where are my coffee drinkers out there? Morning coffee? Yeah, right? And you can take that little deal for granted until the morning that you forgot to make coffee or set it up for you, and you've got to wait that extra 15 minutes in the morning while you're trying to wake up, waiting for your go juice. And that's when the coffee maker seems to take twice as long to make coffee. Because you're like, for real. So when you when you set up the coffee that night and you say, hey, my future self, this is for you. And the next morning you wake up and that coffee is ready and you can smell it as you're coming out of the bedroom and you're like, oh, thank you, yesterday person. I love you. You pour that first coffee and you didn't have to wait for it because it was set up for you. Celebrate that. And if you got family, kiddos, stuff like that, teach them those little things as well. One of the things that I've taught a number of my clients and students is to have a day planner next to your bed. And put on the, just write on there, my awesome life. And what you do with it is every night when you climb into bed, you grab the day planner and you write down a minimum of 3 cool things you remember from the day. And that's another brain trainer. It teaches you to start looking and realizing how much cool stuff you actually experienced that day. Some of the studies have shown that the negative stuff that we experience is weighted like 5 to 7 times more than the good stuff. Meaning you're going along and everything's neutral, something bad hits you, and you got to experience 5 to 7 good things to get back to the baseline. I know. I've had mornings I wake up and I'm all good to go, and something happens, and the amount of time it takes for me to get back on keel, and I'm like, I teach this stuff. What the what? And it allows me to have empathy for my clients. I'm like, no, I get it. A bad day can be an infection that can kick you right in the PowerPoint, and you're just like, ah. And sometimes all you got to do is go back and grab that day planner and flip through and read through some of the days and realize you got a pretty good life. There's good stuff out there. Lenora.
Kick you right in the PowerPoint. That was really funny. And I totally agree. There are days where I like to call them, rather than bad days, I call them tough moments. And I feel like a number of people here just over the last couple of days have not been sleeping well. I might be a little bit accurate with that, just with some of the shifts. But I think because of the tools that we build in and being able to say, oh, you know what? Let me look at my pick-me-up book, the things that I'm proud of, or the things that are going well, or talking to yourself out loud, even if you're not having a great morning. Well, thanks, future me, that I put my coffee on. I'm so glad I did that. Pointing that out and even saying it out loud can be so helpful, because even if it's just a one step up, and I think that's where the personal growth world or the positive self-talk kind of got a little bit of a bad rap, because it's comes across like you'll never have a negative thought again. And it's not accurate. It's about building the toolbox so that you can think more clearly and you can stay in alignment with what you're wanting to do rather than spiraling in. And I remember being pulled into the drama of, well, let me tell you about my bad day, and just feeding off of that. And I don't do that anymore, thankfully. But that's the difference that I see, Mike. That's the difference that makes the difference, is that these are tools. And even when we have tough moments, we get it. We've been there, and we're still working our way back upwards.
And I'm glad you shared that, because some of you that have been around for a while have heard this story a number of times, but it's still one of my favorites. One of my female clients, single mom, two young boys. I taught her the deal with the day planner, and she made that part of her nightly routine with her boys. And the one boy was young enough that he didn't really write words, so he could draw pictures, and he would just draw whatever little picture reminded him of some of the cool stuff that he experienced that day. And one night, she called me up. She said one night they finished their routine. She went to bed, or went into her bedroom, shut the door, and a little bit later there was a little knock on the door. She opens it up, and it's her oldest son. And she goes, "What's up, buddy?" And he goes, "Mom, how come I can only write down 3 things She goes, babe, you can write as many things as you want. And he goes, oh, cool. Goes back to his bedroom, and she said, the stuff that he remembers, the stuff that he writes down, the stuff that he sees from that point, he can point out so many cool things during the day. And then she called me, it was probably about 5 months later, and said she had a story she had to share with me. And it chokes me up every time I tell it. That somebody took his bicycle. And when you're a kiddo, your bike is, I mean, that's your transportation. That's your machine. That is your, you know, I remember the bikes I had. And when he was telling her that somebody took it, he goes, but I hope whoever took it takes good care of it and really likes it. Oh, by the way, I saw this really cool owl. And she was like, what? Here's this kid who had his bike taken, and at that age is already advanced enough to go, I hope whoever has it takes care of it and enjoys it. By the way, I saw a cool owl. That kid's going to be indestructible. Nothing is going to faze him. Mark.
Yeah, I've been blessed in so many ways, knowing you and like I say, knowing all the people in the tribe. But also
Right back
starting
at you,
from,
Mark.
thank you. But I've been blessed long before that, of people who have, passed along little tidbits of wisdom. I just want to pass along one from my uncle. And it's similar to, some days you're the bug, some days you're the windshield. But he used to say all the time, some days you eat the bear, some days the bear eats you. So when I'm having a lesson, just trying to crank over that old Chevy engine, I'll remind myself, well, some days you eat the bear, some days the bear eats you.
Yeah.
It's just another way to, reframe the day.
And even when the bear eats you, if you can still make it to bed and realize that tomorrow's a new day. Holly.
Loving this conversation. Just a couple thoughts that have come into my head as first of all, recognize that as we're talking about these when you want to experience something, you don't literally have to just experience it. Also, memories of it count as an experience. You experience it just as much. So whether that's you're celebrating something, you're reliving a positive memory, you're reading your journal, whatever it may be, those are all repeat experiences. So we talk about I've heard it called the Lesotho line, where you want that, 5 to 7 positive experiences to one negative experience. It is so much in our control that we could have a day that we're having 1,000 positive to one negative, but if we keep reliving that one negative over and over and over again, we've experienced it 7,000 times, even though we only experienced it once. Or vice versa, if we have those positive things and we repeat them over and over and over again, we get to experience them. And then just another thing is, notice this isn't about never acknowledging the bad that happens in our life.
Right.
It's okay to acknowledge it. It's okay to process it. It's okay to ask for help with it. That's not the point. John Gottman kind of talks a little bit about this when it's applied to romantic relationships, but obviously anywhere too. It's not that you bury the things that need to be addressed. You address them. You just make sure that you go in and deliberately have positive experiences too. Because if you forget to have the positive experiences and focus only on the problems and on the, the challenges or whatever people call them, that's where your focus is. And then just another thing is, this is kind of the same concept, but, they say in any given moment, if we have 500 bits of data coming at us, we process 50 bits of data per second. There's an actual number, but basically we process about 10% of everything that's coming at us. And there's always stuff that's not coming at us. So what happened in the room before you walked in? What happened in the room after you walked in? What happened behind you that you couldn't see? And they say that, our brain looks for patterns. And so once you get on a pattern looking thing and you see a couple positive things and a couple celebrations, you're looking, we've kind of discussed this, but you're looking for other things to celebrate. You're looking for other positive things.
Yep.
So, they say if you walk into a room and there's 10 units of data and, 3 of them are positive, 3 of them are negative, and the other 4 are neutral. If you're in a positive mode, you'll see all the positive ones and you'll interpret the ones as positive. But if you walk in with a negative mood, you'll see only the negative ones and you'll interpret the neutral ones as negative. So, just that reminder of we don't experience reality. So if you can choose what reality to experience, why not choose the one where you're celebrating and you're experiencing the good ones as much as possible?
And I'm so glad you brought that up because it fits right in line with the other thing that I teach of in the quantum of possibilities. Best case scenario has just as much probability as worst case scenario. The one that shows up the most and that you see the most is the one you look for and feed the most energy to. And that's part of walking in the room in a bad mood. And now, like you said, the 4 neutrals are bad automatically. Well, if you understand that equation, you can decide, like Wayne Dyer said, are we living in a hostile or a friendly universe? Oh, Linda showed up. Yay! Oh, man. And Allegra? This is getting better and better. Josh, got your hand up.
Yeah, you knew I wasn't going to be able to not comment. I wanted to say thank you, Holly, for giving me the inspiration. As I was debating here, the idea to celebrate, I've been writing some things down, good things to practice for my mind bit going forward. And TJ, I wanted to thank you specifically for reminding me to be here. So I was been plucking along for the last couple months, taking things that I've learned and doing a reflection period as I often do. I'm a little bit in a different spot, as I've said, for life stuff, right? I don't have to go to work. I did the retired thing. So it gives me more time to think about stuff. And I've been spending that time slowing my life down and being less concerned about getting to somewhere and worrying about the what someone. And so in light of the 200th episode and in light of that celebration, I also wanted to thank Elijah for something he told me that has been coming up a crap ton in my life. And Holly, you reminded me of it. And that's that neuroplasticity argument, which is that, if you've been through some hellacious things, everything that reminds you of it softens that memory junction, brings it up to the fore, and whatever's happening in present gets rolled up with it when it gets filed away. And so, in somewhere in the middle of going through hell and celebrating the victories is that process of diminishing charge on the things that we carry. And so, this has definitely been a good period. Actually, this has been a really great year for that. Finding out where my weak points are, where I need to shore up, where my failings are, going through the notes, and even the stuff that I've learned here on Triple T. Right. So even if I haven't been here in a while, the words are still ringing. And so definitely wanted to show up to say thank you for that.
Appreciate your feedback and sharing that, brother. Glad you're here. And again, good to see familiar faces that I haven't seen for a while. Linda, Allegra, man, Dan, you guys, wow, thank you. And with what Josh brought up, that's part of one of the protocols that I share with a lot of people, a lot of clients, a lot of stuff that falls under the anytime, anywhere, for any reason is the date and time protocol. The stuff that I've accomplished with people with that, it seems so simple. And for those of you that are not familiar with it, what I'll do is I'll precursor it, let people know that I'm going to ask you a simple question twice. And so I'll take my phone, tap it so that the time stuff, and I said, I want you to tell me the exact date and time, including the year. They're like, okay, and they look, and they'll be like, it's October 28th, 2025, 6:32 p.m. And I'll echo it back to them. I'm like, yes, it's October 28th, 2025, 6:32 p.m. And the fact that you can hear my voice and we can have this conversation and that we can understand each other means that you have survived 100% of everything life has ever thrown at you. There is not one single thing from your past that you have not survived. And I'm going to let that sink in for a little bit. And I'll let them, I'll let them think about that for a little bit. And that serves two things. One, I want them to realize that, yeah, I'm still here. I have survived everything. But I also want the time to change on purpose. Because then I go, okay, I told you I'm going to ask the question twice. So now, once again, I want you to tell me the exact time and date, including the year. And I'll show them my phone, and they go, it's October 28th, 2025, 6:33 p.m. And I said, that's right. It is now October 28th, 2025, 6:33 p.m. You're not even the same person you were when I asked you the first time. And you have survived every single thing that has ever happened to you since your very first breath and even before that. You are stronger than everything that you've ever witnessed, been through. Which means you have enough strength, knowledge, and energy for a lot of stuff ahead of you. And I've watched people absolutely break down when that hit them. I said, kind of hard to argue with it. We're here, we're talking. I've been through stuff. You've been through stuff. We've all been through stuff, and it's really hard to judge what people have been through by your level of what is stuff. You know, for some people, like for a kid, trauma, level 10 trauma is I can't find my teddy bear and mom and dad are yelling at each other. As adults, we're like, God, I wish that was my only problem today. And for some of the people that I've worked with that have been through, you know, worked for certain organizations and stuff like that, some of the stuff that they've gone through, they look at other people and go, that's it? That's all you got? That's your worry of the day? And yet, that is their worry of the day. That is what they are battling. So everybody's got their battle regardless. I go by the number on the scale, not what it would mean to me if I was going through it. And that's why the time and date protocol works for everybody. Doesn't matter what you've gone through. Doesn't matter how horrific you've listed it or what it meant to you at the time that you went through it. You've survived it. What do you want to do tomorrow? And if you're doing the date book protocol, go back and look at all the good stuff that you've actually gotten to witness. All the things that made those less than positive things worth going through. Because some days there's going to be a lot more of the less than positive stuff. Yay for the human experience. But there'll also be those days that little block of space to write down the good stuff is going to be too small. Those are the days that I hope that you guys have a lot more of. And I will do anything I can to help you have a lot more of those. Lenora.
The time and date protocol reminded me of the one that we talked about last week with Dr. Richard Bandler when he was saying about your memory. He said that you have a really good memory of remembering the experience that you don't want to remember. And I felt like when he was talking about that, it did tie into the time and date protocol.
Mm-hmm. I also like how he pointed out that PTSD is really good memory on a shitty loop.
Well, then he added up the time too, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so how much time have you invested into replaying that shitty loop? Well, only 10 minutes a day. Okay, only 10 minutes a day, times 7, times 52, times how long since it happened, plus how long do you think you're going to be replaying that loop? Add all that time together. What would you rather accomplish with that time? Holly.
Another thing that keeps coming into my head too is sometimes we have these things that we think are bad in the moment. But if we look back at it, almost all of the best things that have happened in my life started with something that seemed like a bad thing in the moment. And it's amazing how we could sometimes reframe these things. Like, for instance, I was just thinking part of the reason I'm even here today is because I had a narcissistic gaslighter who messed me up so bad, put me in a place where I started looking for help, and that led me on the path to get here. And so, it doesn't mean that
Plot twist.
Hey, good for you, but it is me looking at, I'm so grateful for that narcissist because what I have here is so valuable, I wouldn't trade it for anything. So, how can we reframe things and turn them that genuine, and what are we going through now that just because we don't see in the future is going to lead to the next best thing that's going to happen in our life as well.
Yep, exactly. And I am amazingly happy beyond words that you're here. I'm sorry that it took that to get you here, but I'm glad you're here. Lenora.
I wanted to point out something that was brought to my attention. So we were talking about getting stuck in loops, and it was brought to my attention that the loop that I was stuck in was shaming myself. Like, it was the first thing that would come into my brain, and I didn't even notice it. And that's why I really encourage people to keep talking with people that you trust, the people that you trust will actually look at something with you and not ask, like, why are you doing that? They're going to be curious and try and help you break out of that. And it was it's being one of those things where I often call it too close to the mirror, because you're so in it that you have absolutely no idea that you're doing it. And it was extraordinarily helpful, and things have been slowly untangling as I notice how quickly and how easily I was doing it on autopilot with certain people in my life. And it was just really, really powerful. And then when I added up all the math of how often I was doing that and then spread that out over, yeah, that was pretty eye-opening. So the time and date protocol is always really helpful to recognize that the person that you're with is no longer the person that you have a fear that they might be because of your past memory, if all that makes sense.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. And glad to see Elijah's here from way across the pond. Appreciate you showing up, bud. Jade. I know, little buttons on. Your mic is stuck. Join in whenever there are days I left to technology, and then there's the rest of the year. And going off of what Lenora shared, being too close to the mirror is one of the reasons why you need a tribe that you can trust, and reaching out for others. That's why therapists have therapists and coaches have coaches and all of that stuff. Doctors have doctors. Some of the arrogant ones think that they can do everything for themselves until they find out they can't. And so with that, even I've admittedly realized that there were times that I was trying to tough soldier it through stuff that I didn't have to tough soldier through. I'd just gotten so used to doing it that it became a habit. And it robs friends and family from the joy that you get from helping others. I've had a number of people that, oh, I was going through this, and I'm like, why didn't you ask me? Oh, I didn't want to bother you. And I've learned the first thing that I'll ask them, do you like it do you feel good when you get to help people? Well, yeah. Then stop robbing that shit from me. I love helping people, and if you need help and you don't reach out, then you're just robbing that feeling from me. And it doesn't cost you anything. There might be times I can't help you, but at least give me the opportunity for the feeling. Just saying. And just like that, poof, we've got 15 minis left. And I know some of you are like, yeah, some stuff hasn't changed. No, some stuff hasn't. So looks like Jade was able to log back in. Did you get your mic running, Jade? We're going to find out pretty soon.
Yes, I did, but it kicked me when I went to turn my mic on because I downloaded this app. But yeah, it's working now.
Cool.
And yeah, if I could take a second to say what I was going to say. I think what I love about what we do so much and about hypnotherapy is just recognizing that when the past keeps coming up into our mind, it's like, well, why aren't we able to be in the present moment? There's something that's happening in the present that is re-triggering the past to come up, and it just means that there's something that we haven't either processed or something we haven't learned from that past experience. And so once we're able to take a second and actually go back to that moment and re-look at it and process what we were feeling around it, we can learn whatever information it was that we needed in order to be able to process it fully, so we can release it and it can begin to neutralize, so that it's not this intense emotion that keeps coming up and getting triggered in the present again. And then we can become more fully in our present and begin to really enjoy what we're experiencing in our now. So I that's like one of my favorite things, because I've noticed for me in my life, because I've done that so many times, it's like, just getting to enjoy every single moment. I get to work with children a lot, so um, it's just so enjoyable to kind of allow myself to move with their emotions and to hold space for them, and to be playful with them. And I think that's like a gift that we kind of get when we're able to release, more of the past, more and more, and be more fully in the present. So that's what I wanted to mention about that.
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing that. And it actually kind of fits right in with the next topic that I'm going to get us started on, so we can at least have two topics in tonight, and that's forgiveness and love. And we hear about it a lot, and it sounds like, you hear it and they try and make it sound so simple. Oh, you just got to forgive people. Can I throat punch them first? I mean, I just, some people just need a good butt whooping. But it took me a while to learn that the forgiveness isn't for them. And it's not to forgive the actions that they did. No, what they did was forgiving them for being a putz, one way to put it, is my way of letting that energy go. Doesn't mean I have to like them again. I liked you once till you proved you were a putz, and now I have to forgive you and then I have to like you again. No. You chose to be a putz. I forgive you. I feel sorry for you because you have to live with your putziness. And I forgive you and I feel sorry for you because you don't get to join me at my table anymore. I'm trying to, was it Tupac that said, just because I don't want to be around you doesn't mean that I wish you ill. It just means that you're not allowed to eat at my table anymore. You're done. You're kicked out of the kingdom. Have a nice life. I wish you the best. I'm not going to wish ill on you because you got your own stuff to deal with, but I'm not going to deal with your stuff anymore. But the other person you have to forgive is yourself. And that, to me, is the most important one. And it ties a lot to the whole shoulda, woulda, coulda. Oh, I should have known. I shouldn't have trusted them. I shouldn't. Stop. Forgive yourself for that stuff. It's in the past, and the past actually is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It's recordings that you don't have to pull up constantly. I should have never married that flippin' loser, blah, blah, blah. Well, at some point in time, that flippin' loser wasn't so bad. And one of the sayings that I cling on to with this one is, you did the best you could at the time with the tools, the knowledge, and the energy you had available to you. If you could have done better, you would have. And I added the energy part because I know that there have been times where I had the tools. I had the knowledge to know how to use them. I was too damn tired. I was just too wore out. I had no energy. I had no F's to give anymore. Done. I'm done. I don't even, and you look back and you're like, all I had to do, you know what? You didn't have the energy. If you could have done better, you would have. And today is October 28th, 2025. It's 6:52 p.m. Central Standard Time. You have survived every single thing that has ever happened to you. If you could have done better, you would have. And I think it was Wayne Dyer that said, if you keep going on with the shoulda, I shoulda, you end up shoulding all over yourself, which leads to a shouldy life. And nobody needs a shouldy life. Yeah, I thought the same thing when I heard it. I've seen people should all over themselves constantly. And a couple of them, I said, well, then go back and change it. Well, I can't. Then stop. Stop living in the past. The future is waiting for you, and you're missing the present. And then love. I've got a couple of clients that have really struggled with the concept of the person you need to love the most in the world is yourself first. Because it's really hard to fill a cup out of an empty pot. Well, isn't that kind of selfish? No, it's not. You're the person that you have to live with from conception until the last breath and beyond and before. And if you can't love that person, man, talk about picking a bad partner. Because they're in your head all the time, all the time, all the time. And you have the ability to change that person into somebody that you love. Don't like the way that person talks to you? Teach them how to talk to you better. Because I've heard people say things about themselves that when I'm like, if somebody else said that to you, what would you? I'd throat punch them. Then why are you saying it to yourself? Well, I'm like, I like you enough that I don't even like you saying it to yourself. If somebody else would have said that about you in front of me, I'd have throat punched them for you. So I just want to smack you on the back of the head, get that voice out of there. Have an exorcism. Oh! And I think a lot of it I saw growing up in a couple of the groups that I hung out with. It became a tribe thing. Talk smack about yourself. And it becomes easy. Or in a family with that habit. But none of us are 18 or younger anymore. I mean, I'm 23, but okay, I've got a little extra experience these days, but still. And those of you that know me know that I still have a 5-year-old in me somewhere that has no problem coming out and partying. So, Lenora.
I will put myself out there a little bit right now. When it comes to self-love, it was always a topic that I really didn't enjoy, if that makes sense, because it felt so airy-fairy and not authentic. And even in working on it, I noticed that I was somehow still stuck in a shame loop of not being willing to maneuver into that space and to truly feel it. Because if I was having a conversation about it, something that happened to me quite often was if I would share something openly, I was then made fun of. So I really struggled with sharing things openly, and which, as many of you know, it took me quite a while to actually reach out to a professional because I was terrified that that was going to happen. But that was the loop that I was stuck in, as to if you say something, oh my God, what are they going to say in response to? So in my own head, I was still somehow magically stuck in a shame loop. And it's still something that I'm working to navigate. But in the world of self-love, I think it's far more than bubble baths and a candle from TJ Maxx, even though both are very lovely. It's definitely something worth looking into, especially if the idea of it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Thank you for sharing that. And yes, I would say the vast majority of the people that show up for my help struggle with self-love because of whatever voice is stuck in there that was given to them. Usually it's given to them. And then they take it and then they amplify it because, hey, why not? Jade.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think self-love is such an interesting thing because it's different for every person. Like for one person, for example, it might be like, enjoy the piece of cake. And for the other person, it's like, no, you've had enough. You don't need any more of that. So it's like, it's so unique and individual to every single person. And I think there's a process to it as well because there tends to be during healing like a pendulum effect where sometimes we need to swing all the way to the other side of an experience to understand where the healthy kind of middle place is. So, yeah, it's something that I think is really interesting and something that has to really be like felt through to understand what really is self-loving to you, because that might be something long term as well, like some decision you have to make now that doesn't feel good, but in the future it's going to be something that you're really going to thank yourself for, like you mentioned before.
And one exercise that I give to my clients is standing in front of a mirror and staring at them in the eye for a good while, saying, I love you. And I've had people, when I brought that up, they're like, hey, no, that ain't going to happen. No, no. And I've had people clients that have reported that the first couple of times they did it, they only lasted about 20 seconds, 30 seconds. And they had to look away and make themselves go back and do it because of the voices in their head and the programs and the schmutz that they've gone through. But the more they do it, the easier it became. And the easier it became for them to forgive themselves and the stuff that they've gone through. Josh.
Thank you. Well, I wanted to say, TJ, so I've brought it up before, but this is an awesome time to do it again, I think. But contextual reference matters a lot too. So, like, for example, on the topic of love, I just basically got my ideological butt kicked in a cool way. What was it, about a month ago? but I want to back up. So like, as a veteran, one of the things that I have struggled with the most is when people say thank you for your service, right? And you and I have talked about this, and don't worry, I'm gonna get to it. But I've had a hard time with that because my usual response would be something along the lines of, well, if you knew what I'd done, you wouldn't be thanking me for that, right? And I've carried that, and I don't know if shame is the right word. But it's definitely like it's a contextual thing is the way I keep framing it because that's the way I perceive it, right? Like all the times that I've been invited to a Christmas dinner and I see what's going on and there's love there, right? I can see that thing happening, but I am not connected to it at all. So it's like even if I'm at the table eating with the people and they're being welcoming and loving and warm, I still feel like I'm outside the window in the winter, like watching it happen, right? And so same thing, like thank you for your service. And and it took all the years until I met you and we just happened to be having that conversation. And for you to frame it like you did, when you said it's not about what you did, what happened, and all that other stuff, it's that you raised your hand when other people didn't and other people couldn't.
Yep.
And and then I was just kind of like, oh, damn, like I need a minute on that one. And then it still still hits me, right? Like, but just recently again, I was talking with an old friend of mine about the concept of love, and I was like, I just don't get it, like what people say love is, and I was like, I'm just not seeing it. And he's like, what are you talking about? You love people all the time. Have you listened to yourself? Do you see what you do? Like, yeah, you're intense. Like you have a lot of stuff going on in your system, in your field and stuff. But I don't know anybody else that in the wee hours in the morning when like I'm going through something rough and I just call you, I don't know anybody else who will pick up the phone and just sit with me right until like 8 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning or whenever we get done. He's like, the way you share your knowledge, the way that you go to bat for people, and yes, you have boundaries, and yes, you can be pretty he says boorish, but, and he's like, and you got that sailor mouth, but he's like the way that you sit with people is love. How do you not see that? And I'm just sitting there like, fuck, he got me. Just like, hey, then fine, I'm taking my toys and going home. But I just sit with it for a few minutes and just be like, it hurts me. I don't want to do this anymore. So anyway, thank you again. Just wanted to say that.
And thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate you, man. Jade.
I love that he mentioned that because it's like so interesting to see like perspective and like how it shifts the way that a person feels and experiences life. Because like from my perspective, it's like no matter what you did, it's kind of like you said, you raised your hand and said, I'm gonna do this thing or whatever. And I look around and I appreciate the fact that I live in America, like hugely. I wouldn't choose to live anywhere else. Like, I appreciate the fact so much that, like, my son gets to wake up and go to an awesome school and, like, he gets to pretty much do whatever he wants and, like, the privileges that we have. So it's like people who, like TJ said, raised their hand and said, like, I'm willing to do this. Willingly raise their hand to do that because people aren't forced to do it nowadays. Like I have so much gratitude and appreciation for the people who choose to do that because there isn't any other country that I would choose to live in. So I don't know if you're in the United States or not, but it's just a very interesting like difference between the perspective,
Yep. I right there in agreement with you, Jade. And that brought us just past the top of the first hour. And wow, number 200, holy cow. Thank you guys so much. And now it's time for that magical time where we switch over. For those of you that just tuned in, and those that are watching the recording for the first time, What happens now is it becomes open mic, open platform. Anybody on the call can bring up a topic or a question, and I let everybody on the call answer first because I like to learn as well. And after everybody has answered, if I feel there's something else that I can add, that's when I add my two centavos. So, who has the first question or topic of the second hour for number 200? And I see we've got some new people on here. I am so glad to see you guys here. Mindy, thank you for joining us. Yay! And there's a face that I see from way back in the day. I'm from the long side across the pond as well. So,
Super long side across the pond.
yes, thank you for joining us, Aaron. Good to see. And Mark has his hand up for hour number 2. What do you got for us, Mark?
Well, this happened today. I was talking to my sister, and there was a task to be done, and she said that, and I always refer to her as my Mycroft, like Sherlock Holmes's smarter sibling. She said, "You can get it done. You've got presence." And I was like, "What's presence?" She says, "I don't know. It's just, you can walk into a situation and, just take control and have that presence that you can make things happen." And I thought about that for a while. And I was thinking, well, part of it might be charisma. Part of it might be something else, something more, but I think that, but I wanted to get some input from the crowd that, what do you guys think of, like, they'll say that an actor has stage presence,
Yes.
and, so what I wonder what that, again, I wonder what people's perception of that means. It's, it's an assumption of authority, or it's just something that, you go in there and people just, they immediately pay attention to you. And, so again, I think it's more than charisma, but I'm not sure what more. So there it is. So what is presence?
Joshua's got his hand up. What do you think, Joshua?
Yes, sir. Mark, of course, it's good to see you again, man. And I only know you but so well, but the impression I get is that if I were to walk in the room and tell you that the sky was falling, you probably wouldn't move very much, which is good. And therefore I bring up that the things that are probably being responded to in this case is frame and non-reactivity. I would also call it solidarity. So in this way, I've been told similar things, right? Like if the joke I use is that everyone that I've talked to literally since I was 15 has always said, if the zombie apocalypse happens, you're top 10. Like, I'm going to be calling you. I'm that guy.
Yep.
And what I found, especially this year, because this year's been really eye-opening for a lot of stuff, is I have what seems to be that kind of curb appeal where people will come up and talk to me. Because I just generally when I'm out and about, I don't talk a lot. I'm pretty silent, pretty stoic. But then when I start sharing my opinion, I have that intensity, and that comes from a lot of like the stuff that I've been through, and that, when my mind starts going, I love expanding the topic. And anyway, I don't know, I delight in it. I delight in ideas, but sometimes I forget to not overrun the audience. And so I joke to say one of two things. I might be pretty smart, but I still can't see why kids like Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Also, I'm pretty good at that yoga stuff, the part where I open my mouth and insert both feet. I'm real flexible like that. So in that way, I bring that up because I have that initial, like, people are drawn to me because they can tell that if the chips are really down, then I'm good. I'm the guy to stand next to. But then at the same time, like when I start processing stuff, or I want to go through those things, the intensity ends up ruining that effect. And I get the sense that you don't do that. Like if I were to bring it up with you, the hard stuff, you would be Mark at all times. Like I don't think you would react very hard to a lot of that stuff. And that's a super appealing characteristic to have to people that are seeking peace or seeking understanding and wisdom.
Well,
Authenticity.
Yep. Who else has something to add on what presence means to them? Holly.
First of all, I'll say what Josh said, spot on, and I've got like a million downloads coming in because of it. I will say when I hear the word presence, the first thing that comes to my mind is state control. And I think and this is kind of similar to what Josh was saying, but for those who've seen that, the videos of all of the, gosh, well, I can't think what they're called. The metronomes, that's what they're called. And if you put a bunch of metronomes, on a table and set them all, eventually they'll all synchronize. I always think of presence as being the first metronome that gets everybody else to synchronize to it. Now, I do think, with state control, the fact that, others get into rapport with you matters. I do think there are certain states that have more presence to them as well. So just because you can walk into a room and, a bad state might be, say, you're high anxiety, just because you can make everybody else have high anxiety, I wouldn't necessarily call that presence. You could come in that, master and commander kind of feel. Or that, I've got this, I'm controlled. But also, I think there's a little bit of, leadership. There's a little bit of vulnerability. There's also a little bit of rapport as well. So, if you come in and you're on a stage or you're an actor or whatever, some of it is your ability to say, yes, I can connect with my audience. I can get rapport with my audience. But it starts with state control. Because yes, I'm going to connect with my audience, but I'm still leading. I'm the one who's going to be leading the rapport once we get into connection. I know where we're going. I think that's a lot of it too, is, I have intention. I know what I want to get from this state. I know where I want to lead you. So those are some of the thoughts that come into my mind.
Great answer as always. Thanks, Holly. Who else has
Yeah,
something?
the thing that I took a long time to learn was the leader makes a decision and he has to say it with perfect confidence and perfect certainty so everybody else buys into it, but he doesn't know what's the right path. And that took a long, long time for me to realize is that the leader doesn't know. Yeah, we got to do this. And he has to say it with perfect confidence and perfect certainty so everybody else buys into it. Maybe that's in there with presence too.
Yep. That was perfectly shown for military and leadership in the movie U-851, I think it was, about the German U-boat takeover, and the captain died, and the second in command, under a high pressure situation, said, "I don't know." And as soon as he left, the one of the other top guys, an older guy, said, "Don't ever say that again in front of your crew, ever." The captain always knows. Even if he doesn't know, he always knows. Because his team, his crew, needs to know that he knows so that they can complete the task with as much forward belief as possible. Jade.
So I think it's interesting because you had mentioned with the question in the first place, kind of like an actor. So the reason why I find that interesting, because like I think, most of us know that a really good actor gets into a state of being of, if they were the one actually having that experience. And so I think if we look at it from a perspective of like consciousness itself sort of flowing through a person's being to have that experience, it's like that's interesting and acting that happens. And at the same time, it's like when you bring presence into a session, for example, how was just being mentioned, like not having your state be controlled. It's the ability to have a dual awareness. You can feel everything that's being experienced, but allow it to flow through you so that you're holding a space at the same time. So it's like you have to have the ability to expand enough to be able to do both at the same time, in my personal opinion. But the ability to actually feel it as well, so you're not getting pulled into it and then being swept away with it.
Yes, I fully agree with that as well. Lenora?
I definitely agree with Jade. It definitely feels, even when she was talking, it felt much more grounded for having presence, but it's also, to me, it feels much more energetic, but maybe because I kind of tune into that more easily. I'm focused in on it and not just thinking like, oh, where are my car keys? And I have to do this and I have to do that. I think that does get conveyed in some way, shape, or form. So when Mark, when you're with people, or what she was saying, when you're present, you're present. You're here. This is all that matters. What did Eliza say? Generally good. Just some things are misaligned. Oh, no, sorry. No, never mind. Misread something.
Left turn. Anybody else got anything that they want to share on this? Holly.
Couple more thoughts that are coming into my mind. You know me, I always talk. So for one thing, I would say when we're talking about, making the decision too as the leader, you as a leader are not necessarily saying, I'm making this decision and we'll never pivot. It's just, hey, if this is the wrong direction, we're still going to go down it long enough to figure out it's the wrong direction. And then I will also lead you down another direction. We're going to pivot when it's right. And I think that's what a lot of people get in their head is, oh, if I make the wrong decision, I'm committed to it. And, I think the leader just knows, hey, I'm going to get more data by moving. And so maybe this is the wrong direction, but we're going to move, we're going to get data, and then we're going to pivot. And then just another thought that came to my mind too is, like so many things, you can either have presence or you can think about having presence, but you probably can't do both. So when you're too much into your head thinking about, oh, I got to have good voice, I've got to, have a good posture, all that sort of thing, it's going to be very different than if you get grounded and you're in your body and I think, for instance, your voice, there is a commanding voice, there is a presence voice, but you get into it when you're I think it follows when you're present, when you've got state control, when you're grounded, when you're leading, when you're in that present state, everything else follows it and naturally becomes authentic rather than something that you're in your head trying to dot all your I's and cross all your T's, observing it from a side and trying to have it just from an observation perspective. So it's embodied and experienced rather than just thought about.
Thank you. TJ said last week, if I can quote him correctly, that actors are some of the best hypnotists in the whole world.
That's their trade. And I was gonna, if nobody else has anything, I was gonna add something from the conference in Chicago when Rich Guzzi was talking about some of the things that it takes to be a leader and all that stuff. And it was, if you scored at 100, but you've got these 4 things, and you take skill, 0 to 25, versus, you could have a surgeon versus a bricklayer. Both can be at the top of their game, but there's less surgeons. That's more specialized, so you get a few more points on that. And so you got skill. Second one is marketing. Third one is leadership and outsourcing. And the fourth one is it factor. It's just having it. It's that charisma, it's that confidence, the ability to communicate, storytelling, the look, the celebrity effect. And he said, you can fall short, per se, on the first 3, but the it factor will bring all of those up. The it factor was the heavy-weighted factor that goes into it. And some people just have it naturally. Some people learn it through tribe. Some people learn it by being put into a position where they have to have it. And it almost becomes a fake it till you make it. And it was funny, I at the conference, I ended up teaching 2 classes, and I wasn't looking to, I wasn't trying to find a way to do 2 classes. We were just sitting in the last class of the day, and guy sitting right across from me over from the aisle looks at me and goes, do people often mistake you, or not mistake you, but do people often come up to you as somebody in charge? And I said, what? He goes, do people often come up to you as somebody in charge? And I said, well, I guess so. And right after he said that, or right after I said that, lady walks by and she goes, you ready to get started? She thought that I was the teacher in the class that we were waiting for. And it happens to me quite often. I mean, how many of you are in a store, you're not even in a uniform, and somebody comes up and asks you a question in the store? I get that quite a bit. But there have been a number of other people that if you see all the employees, which one do you automatically think is the manager? Not because they've got this big deal on their chest that says, I'm the manager, but
They
because
often look like they know what's going on.
what's that?
They often look like they know what's going on.
And they have that presence. They just have that air about them. And I've even seen some that weren't the manager. They were what you would call a regular employee, but the managers knew that they could count on that person because they had that presence. So anybody else got some information? Did you get, was that the answer you were looking for, Mark?
I thank you for everyone for their input. Yeah, like I said, it'll take me a while to, tumble dry it and, come up with, a synthesis of it. But yeah, thanks for everybody's input.
Cool. Well, that means it's time for another question or topic. Who's got something to toss at the crowd? There we go. Aaron's got a question. All right.
It's not actually a question, but this was the perfect time to jump in because I was watching the stream on my TV. Actually, I was watching last week's stream on my TV, and then I was thinking, when is today's one going to start? Because obviously my time difference is a little tricky to figure out sometimes. And then I saw it was a 200th episode, and so I thought, well, how can I not get on the 200th episode after not having been here for so long? And so here I am, and I'm saying this partly to myself because, even as I say it, my brain is saying, oh, you want reasons to avoid doing something? Here's a big long list. But yet here I am still. I still made it on. But yeah, I wanted to say congratulations. 200 episodes, if my calculations are correct, means 400 hours of content that has been created by these people. And I think if within that 400 hours, people that stumble across it can just get one nugget that can change their lives or have an effect, then something pretty great is being done. Because as I said, I was watching the last week's stream and their story about the woman with the PTSD and how that sort of reframe about the amount of time that she was spending thinking about that thing. In some senses, that story bugged me because there was no regression to cause, there was no conversational hypnosis, there was no inner child, there was no color breathing, there was no spinning, there was no magic frame, and yet he got the change, and it was that nugget of, there's a time factor here of time that I'm wasting doing this that worked, and it got the change. So as much as it might bug me that there were no clear principles, they got the change. So you never know which nugget, no matter how insignificant or illogical, might make a change in people's lives. So yeah. And on top of that, I wanted to add, because I haven't seen the group in a long time, and I have only spoken to Lenora on text messages, because really this is, every time I see it, it's TJ and Lenora are the double act. And even though she's muted, usually she's not when she talks, and she has interesting things to say. And
I was saying it's so good to see you. I am having a full-on party over here.
Point being, even though I'm subscribed, I often don't get the Triple T recommended in my feed. But what I have been getting recommended in my feed more and more often is Lenora's videos of her shorts and her appearances on podcasts and different speaking engagements and things like that. And so her progress and this sort of shift into what she's doing is significant, I think, as well. So congratulations with that as well.
Well
You're so
deserved.
sweet.
And that's me.
And Aaron, would you share with us where you're tuning in from, please?
Oh, I am. It is currently 1:30 p.m. on the 29th of October in New Zealand.
New Zealand. I'm beyond blessed to have you, Elijah, Fran, other people that have blessed this. Thank you. I'm such a rock.
It's so
Oh,
good to
softy.
see you, Aaron. I'm going to piggyback off of Aaron really quick. I
Please.
met Aaron and I met Elijah 200 episodes ago. And I think I met Elijah first. I met Holly just a little bit earlier. And I cannot say enough amazing things about this entire group that you meet here and these people. And they each have their own breakout groups, and they're so phenomenal, and they just make the world so much better. And for anybody who's coming in or starting in, and I know there's a very lovely person on the YouTube channel right now who I messaged to watch. And if you go back to episode 1, you will see a very quiet Lenora who probably didn't talk until she was put in the position to talk until about episode 15. And it's because of this group and because of the breakout groups with Aaron and Elijah and just you all wonderful people that continue to encourage me to think differently about this work and about change work. And Aaron, I totally agree with you. When he got the change like that, I'm like, what? Because it's just, you know what? If they got the change, however they got the change, it worked. And there were no inner childs, there were no parts, there was no color breathing, and there was no spinning. And it blew my mind too when I watched it in real time. And perhaps the presence of that person and also the authority was in alignment with her nervous system, just making it a great match for that individual. But another golden nugget. So well said, Aaron. So thank you for all of you amazing people.
And while we're in this topic, one other thing I want to throw in. The number of people that have been on this channel who have watched the videos that are watching on YouTube that have no idea what spinning, inner child, don't have a clue what NLP is, but have supported this channel out of curiosity and having you guys welcome them in and explain stuff. We don't have to talk at this level. This is a place where people can come in with the curiosity of what we do, who can learn on the run. who can reach out to us at any time. And that's what I wanted this to be. I did not want this to be a talking head where I just go, hey, I'm glad you're here. Let me show you how important I am and spew facts at you and teach you stuff for 2 hours and bore the heck out of you. I wanted this to be interactive. I want to learn as well with you guys. So thank you for that as well. And here comes Fran joining us. Oh, I am a blessed, lucky man. So, who has another question? Holly.
I have a question I'd love to run by the group. So this is a manifestation question. So one of the steps for manifestation, I've always been told is set it and forget it. And one of the things I'm trying to figure out, because there's also the idea of, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So the analogy that comes to my mind is kind of like a planting analogy of I'm planting seeds and then I got to give them time to grow. And if I go back and I'm constantly churning up the earth, I'm not letting them grow. So I guess my question is, when you're manifesting, how do you know the difference between when you've planted the seeds and you're genuinely just waiting for them to grow versus when you forgot to plant the seeds or did something wrong in the planting process and you really need to use a different strategy to get the results? How can you tell the difference between those two scenarios?
Good question. Who's got an answer for that one?
Could you ask it again, please?
Yeah, I'll try to ask it a slightly easier way. So with manifesting, we're supposed to set it and forget it. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can know when I'm manifesting and I'm just setting it and forgetting it and it's already in process versus when I am not manifesting correctly and I'm just waiting and waiting for results. And the reason I'm not getting results is because I'm doing it wrong, so to speak.
Cool. Mark's got his hand up.
Initially, I'm thinking if you're image cycling, I think of it like a Rolodex, and even though you set it and forget it, every once in a while one of those images pops into your head from the Rolodex as it's churning to the side, and I think that might be a way of the universe letting you know you're on the right track, because one of those images on your manifestation list pop up and out of the random chaos. So maybe that's one way to the universe is letting you know you're on the right track. You've set your intention in the right way, and but what do I know? I don't know anything. So but that's my thought.
Fran.
Oh, okay. I was going to say this isn't going to be a satisfactory answer to you, but it's when it doesn't matter if it happens or it doesn't happen, then you know you're on the right track. But you have to reach that point which opens it up, the manifesting. And otherwise it's just holding on and it's too tight and it's in the way. So it's the answer that you don't want to hear.
Great answer, though. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Lenora, please.
Go ahead. I'll wait. Go ahead. Finish.
No, you were in line next.
Okay. I knew Elijah was going to come out. Like I wanted to hold up a little sign that says, "Here comes Elijah," because I knew he was going to come out for this one. When it comes to, especially in reality transurfing, that's one of the teachers that I had, she had shared that we are constantly manifesting. We can't not do it. So we don't have to sit down and think about manifesting it and what this kind of law of attraction, personal growth, the secret world kind of crafted for us. But also in that, to detach from the outcome, and to not hold that it needs to happen in that sense of urgency, but allowing it to unfold however it's best to unfold. And I find it very synchronistic, excuse me, that you asked this, Holly, because for the last 2 weeks, I have been really focusing on detaching from the outcome and just somebody else is in control. And I've gone a rock solid like 40 plus years and 5 months of trying to control everything under the sun. And I'm now actually trying to stop obsessing over controlling it. So I would probably, the best thing I would say, detach from the outcome and for the highest good.
Great answer. All right, Elijah.
Morning.
Oh, your mic's a little hot.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
How's that?
Yeah, that's better. Thanks.
Okay. Morning. So, Fran hit the nail on the head, right? There's this guy on YouTube. His name is Nero. And his channel is called Nero Knowledge. And sometimes the videos are not so easy to watch because they're all like 45 minutes to an hour long. And he uses some rather colorful language, which some people think is, a little bit racist, things like that, right? So it's not the easiest thing to watch for everyone. But he knows his shit when it comes to manifesting. And he has given me the best definition for manifestation that I ever heard from anyone, which is that manifestation is internally shifting to a degree whereupon you are no longer emotionally dependent on seeing your world change. Which, Fran said it the simple way: you're good with it, you're good without it, right? It's that secret frequency of not needing. Okay? So, a lot of people get stuck on the set it and forget it thing because it's like, well, how can I forget it if this is the thing that I want more than anything? Shouldn't I also be obsessing about it and wanting it more and more and living, they talk about living in the feeling and the feeling the feeling of the wish fulfilled before it happens and things like that, right? It's not so much the forgetting it or not forgetting it. It's the kind of getting out of your own way. And the way to get out of your own way is to not be dependent on whether or not it happens, right? Like, you're going to be a success in life no matter what. You're going to be, if you think it's I don't know, you think it's a certain income that's going to make you happy, understand that you're going to be happy regardless, right? The income is secondary to that. And 100 other examples, whichever, add it for infinitum, right? And the way to be good with it or be good without it is to understand that, how do you say it? Like, understand that ultimately what you're chasing is a feeling, right? It's like, oh, I want to be in a relationship and I want to manifest a relationship. Okay, well, what would being in a relationship give you that you don't have right now? Oh, well, I would have some, more love or affection or security or whatever those things are. Those are all feelings. And because they are all feelings, they already exist inside of you right now. Right? The question is whether or not you can live in those feelings, because if you can live in those feelings and you already feel that way, then you don't need the thing that you think is going to lead to the feeling anymore, because you already have the feeling. Right? And that already having is what allows you to be grateful for it, to be grateful for having had an experience before you saw it with your eyes. Because here's the thing, right? Visible light from, red all the way to blue, right? On one end you've got ultraviolet, you can't see that. On the other end you've got infrared, you can't see that. And whatever's beyond those on either side, you can't see those either. Visible light is only 0.0038% of the electromagnetic spectrum. So if you believe in what you see and use that as evidence, then you are ignoring 99.9968%, 62% of everything, of all the information, all the energy, all the whatever's out there. Right? You cannot believe in what you see. That's the thing, you see. There was a time in history when it was unreasonable to think that you could walk into a room and push a button and light is going to come on. And it was a time when it was unreasonable to think that you could shape metal in such a way and fly people across the ocean. And so you have to be willing to believe that things that are unreasonable can exist. And then feel what it would be like if they already existed. And that's kind of how you get out your own way. I know I kind of bounced around and ping-ponged a little bit towards the end there, but I hope you kind of get the point. And if you have follow-ups, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere.
Great answer. As always. Joshua, got your hand up.
Yes, sir. Going to come in a little more on the scientific side. And actually, I wanted to thank you all, especially for this bit, because I was going over some stuff, and I think in this moment I can finally see some. Historically speaking, and those of you might know, I've had a beef with like law of attraction community and stuff. Mostly because from the perspective that I see it, it's people have a hole in their bucket and they're like, man, I really want to manifest more water in my bucket, and I'm over there like, maybe you should plug the hole. Right? And like, and I just can't, again, I refer back to earlier in the conversation. I was like, see that thing I do when I open my mouth and stick both feet inside real deep, right? So like, and then I run, down the end of the pier. But Holly, I know you're really intelligent. And so I wanted to engage you on the scientific side. And that's that when you study quantum theory and you go into what intention does and how observation works, if I'm assuming you would know, but if you don't, look up the double slit experiment, and that has to do with probabilities and waveform collapse. And so there's a guy, his name is Dr. Larry Farwell. He wrote a book called The Science of Creating Miracles. Maybe check that out. He talks about it. But the idea is that intention affects the conscious unified field, which is the thing at the, like right before the, I guess you would call it the plane of the 0th dimension from which all like things, architectures arise. The quietest place is where intention just barely affects that. And it's the nudge, right? So there's not really a do. And when so we come up in architectures and energy is comprised of active components and passive components. This is known as kinetic energy and potential energy. You could also look at it in terms of masculine and feminine, and also in terms of do and be. And this is another place where I get into trouble, is I use, when people say things, I take their words and then I reflect on them and then I offer them back, usually at times that would be inconvenient for the conversation. And in this particular case, I tend to offer it back to the manifestation community as, but you all like to say both and, right? So here we go, right? A peaceful life is not something that happens to you, right? And take that as from a man of war. right? A peaceful life only comes to you when you can obtain a certain level of being and also having done a certain amount of doing, right? So sometimes that's the boundaries. Sometimes that's the bad habits. That's why I mentioned the bucket, right? If you got a big hole in your bucket, like you're like, man, I really wish I could manifest more money. And you're like, oh, I got $10. Let me head on down to the casino, right? Probably got a habit in there. Might need to do something about, right? But like, so there's a little bit of the doing and then a little bit of the being. And just from experience as a dude, like I tend to default more on the doing side. So like I've constantly been looking for things to do and I get hemmed up in it, lost in the weeds, if you will, because I see bright, shiny modalities and I'm like, oh, wow, like I really need to get this. I need to read this book. And I drown myself, avoid the beingness because I'm trying to do too much. I'm trying, like, it's like achieving that quiet state where I can blow a whisper across the unified conscious field and begin a movement via intention. Instead, I'm over there punching the membrane, like, you know, trying to get the right waveform out of it. And then, you know, it turns out being a gorilla doesn't really work there. So, but likewise, if I just sat there and I'm like, oh, universe, it'd be so nice if I walked into my house one day and it was just full of dollar bills, right? Like if manifestation were like that, right? Like we would know people that like money just started shooting out of the ether at them. I've never heard of that, right? So there's a couple there, you know, there's the being part and the doing part. And so I will say this in closing is that you've already done enough. You spoke the intention. Now work on getting quiet and then start do a few things that you need to do to start moving in that direction and trust that it's going to work out. You've already won. Now you just have to find out how you won. That's all I got.
Great answer.
Cool. Well, I'm going to pick that up. And actually, I know and honor Holly's honoring of religion. And it all starts with thought and then the word, like the act of creation, Genesis. So first there's the thought, then there's the word, then you do have manifestation. The word expands. If you write more about it, have it more in your consciousness, it becomes a thing from just a thought. And the intention is in there as well. And even when you bring this thought or word or series of words or larger thinking into either science fiction, you'll probably notice that science fiction actually often precedes manifestation, like geostationary satellites and things like that. They were manifested in sci-fi way before scientists created them. Even the power of when you hit a no, you've got your thought and you've asked for your reality and you hit a no. No doesn't mean that you've been refused. No is not a forever. It just means a no, not right now. There have been a number of situations in the workplace where women have wanted help with childcare so they can go back to work and taken these ideas to big companies. And at first the idea was, no way. But now many big corporations have actually got childcare centers in their system now. So manifestation is also a process. Go back to biblical thinking. Yeah, it starts with a thought, which turns into a word, and the word starts to create the reality. And it's reality whether it's actually manifested or not. That's what I got.
Good answer. Aaron.
I zoned out slightly listening to Fran's voice, but I'm back. Yeah, so my knee-jerk reaction was, if you're spending time wondering whether you've planted the seed, then you haven't forgotten about it. And as well as that, by wondering about it, you're implicitly reinforcing the lack of that thing and teaching your neurology to focus on that thing. Whereas if you instead shift to gratitude feelings, or maybe more effectively accomplishment feelings, which I think it was in my mind's blurring now, but I think it was last week's episode, TJ talking about acknowledging little accomplishments and sort of, but to me with a genuine body feeling of that accomplishment. Not only does it take away, takes your attention off the lack feeling, but it simultaneously teaches your dopamine system to now treat these things as reward goals, and generates behaviors to want to do that more. And you sort of need to, there's probably other dopamine hygiene that you would want to do to minimize the distracting dopamine rewards, so that the key ones that you actually want are the ones that are getting rewarded and reinforced. But yeah, that would be my thing, would be to, when I hear people talk about, oh, live with gratitude and things like that, you could put a different label on the thing, but I think it's that, in practical senses, I think it's the bodily feeling of accomplishment, which is what teaches your body, oh, not only I've already done this, even if I already haven't, but goes, oh, I want to do that again, and leads to, in theory, you getting the thing that you want, as well as I said, stops you focusing on the fact that you don't have it anymore.
Another great answer. Joshua put in the comments, dopamine detox is both rough and rewarding. Yes, we get, especially with the technology stuff that we've got now. Man, you look at some of these kids now; they are so used to getting those dopamine hits all the time. Oh my gosh, you see them get their electronic device taken away, and they go through withdrawals big time. Aaron.
Oh, I thought you would have had much more story than that. Yeah, to add on to that, I mean, I'm not here so often, so I might as well add as much as I can while I'm here. Yeah, hearing you talk about stuff this week and last week and things, and seeing other videos, it just really highlights this sort of chronic behaviors of dissociation that we have. And doom scrolling on the phone and getting the dopamine hits from that is one thing. I did a really interesting exercise the other day of attempting to literally do nothing, and then in the process having having a lot of revelations of just how often my brain would, at the minimum, go inside and start to fantasize and sort of get lost in an inner world and dissociate from reality in that way, rather than just being here now in the present and acting in the real world and responding to the real world. And outside of just that, dissociation that you can do on your own with just your brain, there's phones as dissociation, there's food as dissociation, there's ironic or sort of counterintuitive ones, learning too much as a way of dissociating from or detaching and avoiding the thing that you are really wanting to accomplish. Elijah and I talked yesterday a lot about this, the idea of what you resist persists, but in the sense of the thing that you resist comes back. You in effect generate it in the way that you are trying to avoid creating in the first place. And so, yeah, running away. I think I've lost track of what I was going to say, because I dissociated into my head too much, and I lost track of the real thread of what I'm talking about.
We're following you. It's all good.
Hopefully there was something in there. But yeah, I think the takeaway or the nugget hopefully is, it's been very useful for me to recognize those behaviors of dissociation. And even if you do it, I saw a really good video that broke down that even if you do the things with an awareness, that also will break down that pattern And so you can kind of cheat and go, I know I'm watching this YouTube video and it's really to avoid doing this work task that I need to do. But there's ways that you can sort of leverage it and still have it be a useful behavior in doing it. But yeah, just simply recognizing how often that you're doing that and you're trying to avoid things is really useful.
Yeah, like the people that avoid doing a job by staying busy. Well, I'm busy, therefore I'm not wasting time, and I don't have time to do this thing that I need to do. And great answer, Mark. Mark said, everyone, let's work on manifesting Aaron and Joshua and Allegra stopping by more often. Total agreement. Great group project. Joshua, you got 2 minutes.
All right, thank you. Well, I thank you, Mark. I'll admit the real reason I haven't been showing up is because harkening back to another episode, we were talking about doing squats after like going to the bathroom and stuff, is like change of habits and everything. And I really just didn't want to tell Fran I forgot to do that, and I haven't been doing that, and now I'm going to be in trouble. So thank you. Like, and now to be a little more serious about the disassociations and stuff. This is one of the things that I had to work through, because I have a strong suspicion that everybody who's been through really hard things, like you either develop gallows humor, the ability to disassociate, or both. And so I am presently in the season of no. And right now, as you can see in my screen, I am within probably 10 feet literally of everything I own, including my car. I'm about to go into my 5th winter in tiny house, and got rid of my storage unit. I've shrunk down even more. And the thing I would offer from all this that I've been doing is follow your boredom. If you're trying to do a dopamine detox and you're trying to like recalibrate your brain, because everywhere that you feel bored is what you're trying to avoid. Right. So like, because basically it'd be like my trauma, right? Like I've been through a lot of stuff. So it's like when I start getting close to that, I'll be like, I'll just feel that boredom and I'll be like, oh, I can just fire up a video game. Oh, I can just go read a book. Oh, I could go for a walk. I could work out, right? Like my brain will just instantly, like whatever, like just something to not worry about that thing. And it always, like, if you slow down time enough in your meditation, you're gonna feel that feeling of boredom right before it. And so that's follow your boredom. That's what I have to say on that. Also, Fran, be merciful, please.
And that gives me about 1.5 minutes to tell you guys. I don't even have the vocabulary to tell you how thankful and grateful I am to be sitting here tonight witnessing this. I've told you guys a couple of times, I put off starting Triple T for at least 3 years, because I didn't believe I would have enough content for 3 episodes. And here we are at 200.
197 later.
197 later, yes. And I didn't have to do it talking to myself. So thank you for that, because I'm good at talking to myself, but I would rather talk with you guys. And I don't know what the future holds, but I'm going to keep showing up, and I love that you guys have shown up and your support and all the above. And on top of this all, out in YouTube land, my mom got to watch this too. So thank you. Speaking of mom, love you, mom. And all the rest of you out on YouTube, and for you guys, thank you for this wonderful gift. It means a ton to me. Looking forward to see you guys back here in 7 days for kicking off the next 100. And until then, go out in the world and do the best you can, live the best life possible. And if there's anything that I can do to make your life better, please reach out. Till then, love you guys. See ya.
Congratulations, TJ.
Thanks, Linda. Appreciate you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, TJ.
Thanks, Dan.
Happy 200. Still say